The small town of Maplewood was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, and secrets were hard to keep. So when old Uncle Harold passed away at the age of 87, the entire town turned out for his funeral. Harold had been a reclusive man, living alone in a sprawling, ivy-covered house on the edge of town. He was known for his eccentricities, his love of collecting odd trinkets, his habit of wandering the woods at night, and his mysterious garage that no one was ever allowed to enter. At the reading of the will, Harold's family gathered in the dimly lit parlor of his house. The lawyer, a stern-faced man with a monotone voice, read out the terms. Harold had left his estate to his niece, Sarah, and her teenage son, Jake. But there was one condition. The old garage on the property was to remain sealed forever. Under no circumstances were they to open it. Sarah and Jake exchanged puzzled glances. The garage had always been a source of curiosity in the family. Harold had padlocked it decades ago and refused to discuss what was inside. Over the years, rumors had swirled. Some said it was filled with treasure. Others claimed it housed dangerous secrets. But Harold had always dismissed the questions with a wave of his hand and a cryptic smile. That evening, Sarah and Jake moved into Harold's house, determined to clean it up and decide what to do with the property. As they unpacked, Jake couldn't stop thinking about the garage. "Mom, don't you think it's weird that Uncle Harold didn't want us to open it? What could possibly be in there?" Sarah sighed. "Jake, we need to respect his wishes. He had his reasons." But Jake was persistent. "What if there's something valuable in there, or something dangerous? What if it's like a time capsule or something?" Sarah rolled her eyes but couldn't deny her own curiosity. Still, she insisted they leave it alone, at least for now. That night, as they settled into their new rooms, Jake was awakened by a strange noise. It sounded like a low hum, coming from the direction of the garage. He crept downstairs and peered out the window. The garage was dark, but the hum was unmistakable. It grew louder, almost like a mechanical whirring, before fading away. The next morning, Jake told his mom about the noise, but she dismissed it as his imagination. "It's an old house, Jake. It's full of creaks and groans." But Jake wasn't convinced. He spent the day exploring the property, his curiosity growing with every step. The garage loomed in the distance, its padlock rusted but still firmly in place. Jake tried to peek through the cracks in the wooden doors, but it was too dark to see anything. A few days later, Sarah and Jake were cleaning out the attic when they found a dusty old box labeled Harold's Journals. Inside were dozens of notebooks filled with Harold's cramped handwriting. As they flipped through the pages, they discovered entries about his experiments, his theories, and his obsession with something he called the gateway. "What's a gateway?" Jake asked, his eyes wide. Sarah shook her head. "I don't know, but it sounds like Uncle Harold was into some strange stuff." One journal entry caught their attention. "The gateway is nearly complete. I've hidden it in the garage where no one will find it, but I fear what might happen if it's ever opened." Jake looked at his mom. "We have to see what's in there." Sarah hesitated but finally agreed. "All right, but we do this carefully. If it's dangerous, we call the authorities." That night, armed with a flashlight and a pair of bolt cutters, Sarah and Jake approached the garage. The padlock snapped easily, and they pushed open the creaking doors. Inside, the air was thick with dust, and the hum Jake had heard before was now a steady vibration. The garage was filled with strange contraptions, coils of wire, glass tubes, and what looked like a massive metal door standing upright in the center of the room. The door was covered in intricate symbols and had a control panel with blinking lights. "What is this?" Sarah whispered, her voice trembling. Jake stepped closer, his flashlight illuminating the symbols. "It looks like some kind of machine, but what does it do?" As they examined the control panel, Jake accidentally brushed against a lever. The machine roared to life, the hum growing deafening. The metal door began to glow, and a swirling vortex appeared in its center. "Jake, what did you do?" Sarah shouted over the noise. Before Jake could answer, something emerged from the vortex. A creature unlike anything they had ever seen. It was humanoid, but covered in shimmering scales, with glowing eyes and elongated fingers. It stepped into the garage, its head tilting as it observed them. Sarah and Jake froze, too terrified to move. The creature made a series of clicking sounds, then reached out a hand. Jake, against his better judgment, took a step forward. "Jake, no!" Sarah cried, but it was too late. The creature touched Jake's hand, and suddenly, images flooded his mind. Visions of other worlds, strange civilizations, and Harold standing beside the creature, smiling. The images stopped as quickly as they had started, and the creature stepped back, pointing to the vortex. "I think it wants us to go through," Jake said, his voice shaking. Sarah shook her head. "Absolutely not. We're getting out of here." But as they turned to leave, the creature made a mournful sound and gestured to the vortex again. Jake hesitated. What if Uncle Harold is on the other side? What if he's trying to tell us something? Sarah looked at her son, then at the creature. Against all logic, she nodded. "All right, but we stick together." Hand in hand, Sarah and Jake stepped through the vortex. They found themselves in a world unlike anything they had ever imagined. A landscape of glowing plants, floating islands, and a sky filled with two suns. The creature led them to a small hut where they found Harold sitting at a table, alive and well. "Uncle Harold?" Sarah gasped. Harold smiled. "I knew you'd find your way here eventually." Over the next few hours, Harold explained everything. The gateway was a portal to another dimension, one he had discovered decades ago. He had spent years studying it and building the machine to control it. But he had sealed it away, fearing what might happen if it fell into the wrong hands. "I faked my death to protect the gateway," Harold said. "But I knew you'd come looking for answers." Harold decided to stay in the other dimension, but he gave Sarah and Jake the knowledge they needed to protect the gateway. They returned to their world, determined to honor Harold's legacy. The garage became a secret laboratory where Sarah and Jake continued Harold's work. They learned to communicate with the creatures from the other side and discovered that the gateway was just one of many scattered across the universe. Years later, Sarah and Jake became renowned scientists, known for their groundbreaking discoveries in interdimensional travel. The garage remained a closely guarded secret, but its legacy lived on. And as for Harold, he became a legend in both worlds, a man who had unlocked the mysteries of the universe and left behind a legacy that would change the course of history. If you found this story touching and inspiring, please like the video, share it with others, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for following along, and we'll see you next time for more uplifting tales.